Hi, I'm Amy Duckworth from Empower Admissions Consulting, and welcome to Inside Admissions. Today I'm joined by Emily Brierley from Cambridge Judge Business School. Hi, Emily.
Hi, Amy. Thank you very much for inviting me to be part of Inside Admissions.
It's my pleasure. So tell me, how long have you been at Cambridge Judge Business School, and what is your role there?
So my role is head of the MBA Admissions and Recruitment team. That's for the full-time MBA, and I've been there since 2018, so about 6 years.
6 years, and always in admissions?
Always in admissions, yeah.
Okay. And the program we're going to be talking about today is the full-time MBA at Cambridge Judge Business School.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, great. So we're going to start off with some rapid fire questions. Then we're going to do a deep dive into one specific aspect of your admissions process. And we're going to finish off with some myth busting. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, sounds great. Let's go.
Right, rapid fire. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay. So what is the length of your program?
It's 1 year.
And the average cohort size?
Around 220.
What about the number of years work experience required?
Yeah, so you need a minimum of 2 years work experience. That's full-time work experience at the start of the MBA program.
And the percentage of international students in the cohort?
94% international.
Wow. And what's the age of the oldest and the youngest person in your most recent cohort?
So the oldest is 40 and the youngest is 23.
Okay. And average GMAT or GRE?
So for the previous GMAT format, it's 697. In the new cohort, it's 611 for the new GMAT Focus edition. Right. And then for GRE, we would look specifically at the quantitative and verbal percentiles. And the average for those are 62% for the quant, and it's 80% for the verbal.
Okay. And do you require a personal or video interview as part of the admissions process?
Yeah, personal interview. Everyone has a personal interview.
Okay. And what is the question that you get asked the most as part of the interview or the admissions process more generally?
Yeah, so something I always get asked is, what are we looking for in candidates, beyond the academics or the work experience, which, I always find an interesting question because business schools value diversity. So we don't want 200 people of the, 200 of the same people.
Of course.
But one thing you definitely need, one quality you definitely need to succeed on the Cambridge MBA is you do need to be a team player. So you've got to enjoy collaborating, learning from others, and working with others, through the classroom discussions and on the projects you'll do.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. And final two questions. Who is the chair of your AdCom?
That would be me.
And can you tell me a famous or particularly successful alum from the Cambridge MBA?
Yeah, so Alison Britton, so she's an MBA from 94, and she's the chair of the Premier League in the UK. So that's pretty exciting.
Wow, that is exciting. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the deep dive, and I'd like to talk specifically about the interview part of your admissions process, because I think this is something quite special about the Cambridge MBA admissions process. All your interviews are actually conducted by a member of faculty, aren't they?
Yeah, that's correct. So yeah, I definitely think we are quite unique in the case of our interviews. Like you've said, faculty interview our MBA students, and that's a wider University of Cambridge rule. So everyone that studies at Cambridge has to be interviewed by a faculty member, and it will be 30 minutes be a 30-minute interview with the faculty member, and you can interview both online or in person. So we do offer in-person interviews on campus in all of our rounds.
And what are you looking for in the interview?
Yeah, so when we get to interview stage, the faculty is really trying to gauge a few things. A, program fit. So is the Cambridge MBA the right program for the candidate? Will our curriculum, our projects, our program help them achieve their post-MBA career goals, whatever they might be? I guess also looking for cultural fit as well. Are they going to thrive in the environment, the collaborative environment that we have on the Cambridge MBA? They're also checking to ensure that they're going to manage the academic requirements of the program. It is an incredibly academically rigorous program. So they will be gauging that as well through the questions they ask in the interview.
Okay. And how can candidates prepare themselves for this interview?
So I would recommend preparing like you would any job interview, read through your MBA application. Some of you might have submitted it a while ago, so do remind yourself what you put in there. Do your research, Cambridge, the MBA, the program, again, like you'd research any company that you were applying to. And also think about what it is you want to know from us. So the interview is a two-way street. You're interviewing us as much as we're interviewing you. So really think about what it is you want to know about the Cambridge MBA, and make sure you ask those questions during the interview.
Any tips on what to ask? Normally, interviewers ask at the end of the interview if you've got any questions, and I think that can be, it can catch you off guard if you haven't given it some thought in advance. Any tips?
I'd say for Cambridge specifically, really maximize the time you have with faculty. So really dig into what it is you want to know about the curriculum, about the projects. Maybe you have questions about their own research areas if it's a topic that you're specifically interested in. But I would say don't utilize the time to ask them questions about funding deadlines or scholarships. That's something that you can ask the admissions team at a later stage. So really make the most of your time with them and find and kind of dig into the nitty gritty about the curriculum and other areas of Cambridge that you might want to know.
That makes sense. And I think that's really good advice. Thank you. We're now going to finish off with some myth busting. So I'm going to go through three common myths, well, we'll see if they're myths, about MBA admissions, and I'd like a yay or nay from you. Okay, so firstly, the essays should be strictly professional.
Nay. So that's not true at all. You can absolutely use personal examples in your essays if you want to. So the great thing about the applications and the essays is that it's your application to write how you want, so get creative. Using personal examples is absolutely fine. Some of the best essay responses I've ever read have been, have used personal examples. I would just say a few bits of advice if you do plan on using them. So first of all, make sure you're answering the question. And so think about, is this relevant? Is this a relevant example to use? Or is there something that I could use? Like, would a professional example be more appropriate for this question? Secondly, don't use any names. And thirdly, I would say if you are using someone else as part of your example, then just kind of be a bit, be considerate and think, is it appropriate to use them, or would they be happy with you using them in your application?
Okay. Secondly, it's always better to apply early.
This is a yay. So absolutely, I would always recommend to candidates apply early where possible. I will caveat this with the fact, speak to all the schools you're interested in applying to and check with their admissions teams and what they advise. It might, each school is slightly different. But you'll mostly find that, it's a benefit to apply early. Some schools might have, quotas, so applying early is good for that. But in terms of Cambridge specifically, applying early is beneficial because there's more funding in the early rounds. There's more colleges open, in rounds 1 and 2. And you're more likely to be able to secure college accommodation if you apply early. It's also worth remembering that if you're someone that needs, requires a visa to study on the program, then the earlier you can, get everything arranged and sorted out, the much more enjoyable and less stressful the experience and process will be later on down the line when you start applying for your visa and thinking about, making a move to the UK.
Okay, excellent. And finally, you need a business background to apply for an MBA.
Absolutely nay. And this is definitely a myth that I want to bust. I speak to a lot of candidates who come from perhaps atypical backgrounds, don't have any business, don't have a business degree or much experience. And, absolutely still apply. Business schools value diversity. Everyone has something to bring to the table. Everyone has something to contribute to classroom discussions and to projects. And that's what makes the MBA experience so fruitful and rich. I completely appreciate that if you don't have a business background or any experience, it can feel a little bit daunting, particularly subjects like, financial modeling or corporate finance. They can sound really, really scary. But you're not alone, everyone, you won't be the only one that doesn't have any experience in those areas. And the great thing about MBA programs is how supportive the cohort are, and how much you'll learn from your peers and how willing they are to help with those difficult topics if they've got experience in that area. And also just remember, that's the reason you're doing an MBA, right? You're doing it to develop that business acumen, to gain a business education. So yeah, please still definitely, consider applying, even if you don't have any business experience.
I think that's brilliant advice. Thank you, Emily. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for sharing your insights and your guidance. It's been so interesting talking to you.
Yeah, and thank you for having me on the show, Amy.
My pleasure. So if you do want to know more about the Cambridge MBA, you can find lots of videos on MBA Tube. There are interviews with alumni, interviews with faculty, videos of the campus. So I would definitely recommend checking those out. And if you're looking for guidance on all things admissions, you can follow Empower Admissions Consulting, or you can reach out to us for one-to-one guidance on your MBA applications. Thank you for joining us, and until next time.